Hello and welcome to this episode of Wisdom Whispers. This is a series that I do where I share teachings and lessons and wisdom that I've acquired on my 20-year spiritual path, as well as explore some of the themes that I witness in those I support or that those I support are going through. If you are new to me and new to the channel, I'm Kerin Monaco. I'm an astrologer, I'm a channel, I'm a card reader and mentor for the awakened feminine and light workers. My magic helps people unearth their spiritual gifts, step confidently into their mission, as well as start to learn ways that they can heal themselves. So let's go ahead and hop right on into the topic at hand today, spiritual burnout. Have you ever had a moment where you were absolutely fed up with the spiritual journey and looking for a way off of this path that apparently you signed up for? What am I talking about? Of course, you've had that moment, or you've had many moments like that. I've had them too. It's completely normal, it's completely natural. So, in those moments, I find that we become so disconnected from ourselves and spirit that we go with a very rote response, which for most of the women I support, and likely for you joining me here today, is to dive even deeper into your spiritual work. This is even more present, I find, in the women that are really answering the call to serve. Now, I also find that what I'm about to share with you and offer usually gets met with a ton of resistance. So it is important not to shy away from the inner work, but a lot of that work centers around listening to yourself. It involves paying attention to what you need in that moment and then responding to it with love. It's not about running yourself into the ground trying to achieve a certain spot on a spiritual platform. So if you're still with me, I can almost guarantee that you're not running from your inner work. But sometimes you might misinterpret, I'll say, how to do that work. And you know what? My gosh, that is such a common struggle. Even, like I said, I've been on my spiritual path for 20 years. I have so many pockets of time looking back that I was so completely just not aware of how to do the inner work, or I thought I was doing the right inner work only to eventually realize I needed to do it differently. It's so common. All right, so thank Goddess that you are here because I can share my top 3 ways with you on how to recover and course correct when you are experiencing that kind of spiritual burnout where you're like, I just don't want to do this anymore. Okay, tip number 1, this is the one that usually has people like, oh girl, nope, I don't like that. It's walk away. All right. It feels counterintuitive and sometimes it's pretty uncomfortable. But to break the burnout cycle, you need to stop walking straight into whatever is creating the issue. Now, I usually find that it's not that the things you are doing aren't serving you, but the intention in which you are doing them is muddying the waters. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that intention later on. All right. So take a break and do something that's just pure enjoyment for you. Because living a good life is spiritual. Living a life of suffering sometimes kind of comes with the territory, but we're here to shift out of that suffering and into enjoyment, into joy, into presence, into love. So read the novel, watch the silly sitcom, go to the local pub with friends. The biggest resistance I get to this usually comes from people who would label these as like 3D, or oh my God, is that going to be bad? Or am I backtracking if I just like give myself some time off? So listen, you are here to experience the 3D. You're here to have the human experience, but with a 5D perspective, with a 5D consciousness. Okay, so go ahead and cue up those Jim Carrey films. They have gotten pretty deep. I don't know if you're following him at all, but he is so awake. Cue up his films or whoever, pick your poison. Maybe you're a Brad Pitt chick. Pop the popcorn and just start to relax. Put the spiritual journey to the side. You're always on the journey. You're never not on the journey, but put it over to the side for now. Once you've taken some time away to clear your head and to clear your heart, you can come back. The amount of time that you step away is going to be completely up to you. And I will put this one little bone, we'll call it a tip 1.A. I don't recommend rushing back into it. Give yourself the time. Okay, so let's hop into tip number 2, which is take an inventory of what you're doing. All right, gasp. Okay, so a lot of the women I support have this insatiable desire to learn and explore spiritual topics. They are reading the books, taking the courses, trying to expand their consciousness in a variety of ways. They're basically trying to do all the things, and all of the things on top of managing homes, careers, starting and expanding on their side hustles, tending to their families, hooking up and meeting or, meeting up with their friends. And they're also navigating the current collective energies. So, the quickest way to understanding your burnout is to list all of the things that you're trying to juggle. Girl, when you see all of that on paper that you are trying to fit into your human experience, you are going to laugh. Because I say this all the time, yes, you are absolutely an ancient, powerful, and amazing soul, but you are also here still as a human. So once you have that list, I do suggest grabbing a red pen or whatever color kind of, red is not my favorite color. And so when I see it, it creates an emotion. So I suggest grabbing whatever pen you need, whatever color you need, and crossing out the things that are either really not that important to you or that you no longer want to give your energy to. Now hang on to that list because you're going to need it for tip number 3, which is sit with your intentions. There are going to be things that are so easy to cross off that list. Then there are things on it that you're going to cross off, but that are going to actually take some work, some inner work for you to do, reflecting, and then maybe even some effort in committing to stop doing them. Like I mentioned earlier, that it really, I don't find that it's the practices that people are doing that leads to burnout. It's the intention in which they're doing them, or quite honestly, the lack of intention. Many I find fill up their day and life with things that they feel they should do, both in the spiritual realm or on the spiritual track, we'll say, as well as like the human track. And that's actually the opposite of what we're going for here on earth. I also have personally experienced, and I hear it time and time again from my clients, that we are going into certain spiritual practices or trying to have certain experiences with the expectation of a specific external reward. And that can lead to a lot of burnout when you're doing, and not receiving what you had hoped for or what you had prayed for. The spiritual journey is really focusing on that inner shift, which, yes, will eventually offer external abundance, but the intention really needs to be within first. Otherwise, we do get disappointed, frustrated, and, burnt out. All right. Now, obviously, there are things that you are going to have to still do. You're going to need to go and get the kids from school. You need to pay the bills. You need to show up to work, right? You have those things that are non-negotiable. But there are going to be things, however, on this list that you don't have to do. You may want to do them, but if you follow this tip, you're going to find that maybe you actually don't want to do them. You just feel obligated. So once you cross off the stuff on the list that are easy and acknowledge the have-tos, go ahead, clean piece of paper, start to go through what's left, asking some of these questions. And I'm actually going to copy and paste or put these questions down in the video description for you. Okay, so just receive them for now. So why am I doing this? What do I expect to receive from this practice, from this experience? Does it feel good to do it? Do I feel like there's some kind of timeline on completing it? And then this is the, if I stop, what do I actually lose? And if I continue, what do I gain? From there, you're going to see things the way they are and just kind of let it all fall away if it needs to, or let what needs to fall away fall. Now, what makes it hard, I will not deny, is seeing a course that you paid some big money for, really looking at it and saying, oh God, that's not fulfilling me. Letting it go can hurt, right? That like, oh man, I paid a lot of money. Ooh, and maybe you're even halfway done with it. But when you let it go, what you get back in return is going to be worth it. You might need to acknowledge that bending over backwards to show up to your friend's yoga class each week is actually making you feel rushed when it's meant to be making you feel refreshed. And it may be that you want to do something, but now might not be the right time. There is nothing that makes any of crossing off these things absolute, which is incredibly helpful when going through this process. Yes, you may risk seeing that you lose nothing and gain everything by letting go of what isn't for you, even if only for now. All right, so those are my 3 tips to start you on the path to recovering from spiritual burnout. So, personally, knowing those of you who I am here to support, I do recommend doing this right now, even if you don't feel burnt out. It'll help it stay that way. All right, thank you so much for checking out this Wisdom Whisper. If you are loving these teachings and want to make a donation through the Energetic Exchange, you can find a link to treat me to a chai tea latte in the video description. I also have a freebie course on meeting your inner goddess that I just released. Follow, share, comment, like with anyone who will benefit from this teaching. But I do love you, and I will see you soon. Bye.